This is Hypertech, voices of the industry. People from all different walks of the industry have come together and joining us here at the Hypertech booth to kind of go over what happened in the last few years, where they are right now, and where we think we're going in 2023. And, you know, for so many people who love off-road, Fred Wiley is definitely got your back. And here's what you got to know about this. Now, ORBA, right? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I get that right, because I always mess up the details sometimes. Stick with me. Here's the important part. You stand behind everyone who's going out like off-roading and things like that, but not on a local level, but on a national platform, correct?
Yeah, yes. We do connect locally because that's where the issues are. So we need that connectivity with those local groups so that we can determine what process to use at the national level to keep those areas open.
For instance, as an example, the American Sand Association in Southern California.
Yes.
You know, they're tied up with a lot of, there's actual litigation.
Yes.
I mean, they're going through some stuff there and working tirelessly to let people who like to go off-roading, you know, go on the dunes and things like that. So how do you interface with groups like that? There's a lot across the country.
There are a lot of groups like that around the country. So let me specifically speak to ASA, American Sand Association.
Yep.
So we formed a group 20 years ago called Ecologic Partners. 3 groups, ASA, District 37 of AMA, and ORBA, created a legal group to fight specific battles all over the country. It is funded by those 3 groups. So we partner not only on their issues, or D37, which is Southern California, but the national issues.
Okay.
So we knew that there was a need to bring a professional level to the work that we do, and we find partners like ASA and others to help us create that. They provide the knowledge and help with the funding. We provide the strategy and the legal components to all of that.
That is cool, and that's what a lot of people don't realize, that you need a seat at the table.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's sort of where you're going with that. You're looking at the big picture, I guess, right?
I work and live by a theme that if you don't have a seat at the table, you're not going to accomplish anything. So you have to be respected and polite, and make sure that when you carry your message that you carry it to the right people who belong at the table as well. Yeah. That's the only way to accomplish anything.
Now, let me ask you a question, Fred. How did you know, it's definitely a cause, something that comes from passion. Like when I talk to the guys from the ASA, they're passionate about being out on the dunes with their families. You talk about going out on the dunes and you could see them light up. I mean, they glow. It's really part of their DNA. And so I always love finding out what people did before or what motivates them, what brings them to that party. So for you, what brought you to ORBA?
So what brought me to ORBA, well, first of all, I have a public relations background many years ago with Mercedes and GM, just working, connecting customers who have issues with the company. That's where my basic background. And then I started doing consulting for different companies, oil companies, farms, and stuff in the Central Valley. I am a passionate snowmobiler. I have a place in the southern Sierra Nevadas. We have snowmobiled all over North America. So that is where I come from.
Right.
President Clinton came to my area and created the giant Sequoia National Monument. That irritated me. So what we did is we figured out how we got a seat at that table for that management plan. We still ride snowmobiles there. We still have off-road equipment on the roads. And so by getting to that table and creating the conversation from our side, we were able to continue to do what we wanted in that monument.
You know what I like? I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it was just the way Fred said, and that irritated me. Just that. If he was sitting at my table and he said that, I'd say, okay, all right. Here, want a coffee? But you know what? I joke because it's such a serious thing, and it really is. And people don't realize I grew up on an island on Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, which is 25 by 14, where, beaches everywhere, there's plovers, there's all different types of interests. And if you're not awake at the table, if you're not present at the table, people can change things. As a kid, you could go to any beach you want. Now you have to fight to go to beaches.
Yeah.
Now there's rules about going to certain beaches, and it's a real pain, and it's not good. And it came from people not being awake at the wheel. Everybody was on their own journey, and they weren't awake at the wheel. They didn't have a seat at the table. So I know firsthand how important it is to be there. And I know what a difficult job it is, and involving patience and relationships with legal people and things like that. How do you guys get people on board with your group?
So obviously, our funding mechanism is mostly industry. So partnering with industry components that we're seeing here today is one of the way that we subsidize and fund our programs and moving it forward. From that, we decided that there has to be a connectivity somehow between the grassroots consumer and the industry. So industry guys don't want to get calls from every club in the country wanting something. So we set up a system called One Voice within the ORBA structure that allows them to come to us and talk about issues and programs and problems and all of that. And then we then take it to industry to see how they want to help manage it. So it's a connectivity between consumers and industry. That's fairly rare at this point in a lot of these issues. The other thing is that we work very heavily in the political world. Just happened to be, and I'm not sure how much you follow politics, but just happened to be in Congressman McCarthy's office, or not in his office, in his town. We live in the same town. His office is across the street from mine. We visit regularly. If the election goes the way it may go, he will maybe be the next speaker. If we have that, we then take a different position with how we approach things in Washington. So everything is about a strategy. It's about relationships. It's about being connected and being able to be at the table. That doesn't happen overnight. That takes a lot of time.
And patience and relationships.
Yes.
And I think, by the way, for the folks out there watching from Polaris, I'm talking to Fred. He's a big snowmobile fan.
Yes.
Probably a side-by-side guy, too.
Yes, I
You
am,
can help
too.
him. Polaris, hello.
Yes, exactly.
No, they've actually done a lot with the ASA, and every year they put up a side-by-side.
Yes.
And they raise tons of money at the, every year down at the Sand Sports Super Show.
I do know that very well. I'm in Bakersfield. I get the ability to go there. So what we decided, we used to do vehicles and a small show and things like that. And we came to the conclusion that we're only competing with the grassroots folks for them to raise money.
Right.
So we stepped back away from that. We'd rather you send us the money and we'll stay out of their area and let them do it the way they want to. I think we found a lot of respect from the grassroots by stepping away from their world.
How do we supercharge this and get involved for the everyday person who might be watching this, or maybe for people or enthusiasts around SEMA? How do we supercharge those people and get them real activated?
Well, when you talk about the people on the ground, that is the most difficult thing that we face because their worlds are extremely busy today, especially after the COVID issue and some of the other things. So we're seeing that the average person, so my kids are in their late 40s, mid 40s to late 40s. They do things a whole lot differently with their kids than what we did when they were growing up.
Right.
We barely had an opportunity or the money to go out to dinner once in a while. They go out a lot of times a week. Their time is crazy. So reaching them and making the message important and what's going to resonate with them and keep them engaged is extremely difficult right now.
Well, how can people get in touch with our crew at ORBA and people that can help you?
Yes, so you can go to www.orba.biz. That website is being revamped as we speak. It will tell the story of who we are and what we do. There also will be listing our other groups within that so that you can link out to there, to see where your interests lie and what might be good for you. Several years ago, United Four-Wheel Drive, been around for a long time, began to struggle and fumble. So my board of directors says we can't let that name die. So we brought it in-house to ORBA, and United Four-Wheel Drive now exists within the corporate structure at ORBA. We help manage that. It's still a grassroots managed how they do things, but we kind of take over the business part and make that work. We have a UTV impact program, which is addressing what we're calling the new phenomenon of off-roaders that didn't come up in the traditional ways, maybe need a little help understanding what they should and shouldn't do. And that's being driven by the athletes and rock stars from industry. So they're helping us carry that message and hook the consumer into paying some kind of attention about take out what you take in.
Right.
Be safe. Be quiet. are respectful, some of those kinds of messages. We need a good way of doing that. So industry with their athletes and rock stars is helping us do that, send that message out.
Well, you are working 24/7, and it's a great cause, too. So if you need more information on that, orba.biz, right?
.biz.
.biz. So
Yes.
go there. You can check them out and become a part of this. Become a part. Heighten the pressure. Get a seat at the table. And I'm so happy you could drop by, Fred, because this is the voice of industry, brought to you by Hypertech here at SEMA. So much more to come. If you want to see the videos, you can check it out on our YouTube channel. You can stop by. We're here in the Central Hall. And if you can't make it this year, we'll be here next year. See you then.